Hi guys, Tim Urbanek with Elite Endurance. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about goal setting and how you can best prepare yourself for something like that. I always break down goal setting kind of into three different stages. First one being obviously the goal setting, or goal selection I should say. You want to find something that's going to be challenging, that's going to push you, that's going to kind of have you reach into something that's a little bit more difficult. And I say that with caution though. You don't want to make something that's really impossible, that's unachievable, because that's just going to set you up for failure. Flip side to that is though, you don't want to use something that's really easy, because a lot of times if you do set a goal that's a little bit harder, you'll gain more, you'll actually benefit more chasing that versus if you made an easy goal that you were able to accomplish. There's kind of like a catch-22 with that. Like I said, you want to make sure it's challenging, but not something that's too challenging to where it's going to be impossible. Like if I were to say, tomorrow I'm going to be in the NBA, it's just not going to happen. So I want to be realistic with what I'm selecting and picking as my goal. And once I find that, I want to hammer in and focus strictly on that. Big things with that is you want to always visualize it. So you want to visualize it not only in your mind, but you can even do something I like to do is just make notes to myself. So taking just little post-it notes, 3x5s, putting them up all around the house, on the mirrors, anywhere that you're going to be looking, fridge or something like that. So it's a constant reminder to keep you on track, keep you focused, keep you prepared, and let you know what you're doing all this for. Because you want to have a real set, clear goal in mind, and you want to be able to drive hard towards that. The next thing I always suggest is having a plan of action, or a better way to say that would be what steps you're going to take to reach that goal. So when you're doing this, I always tell people be cautious with this and not make it to where you're picking one large, end final goal. Try to get in and build some checks in between. And what I'm meaning by that is, say, like a goal for me is I want to be able to deadlift 400 pounds by the time I'm 40 years old. So rather than looking at it in one big chunk, like, oh, I got to get to 400, I want to maybe break that down, and I know I've got a couple months before I'm 40, but I'll break it down and say, okay, by month, 2 months in, I want to be able to deadlift 360, and then maybe a month later, I want to be able to deadlift 370. So I've got checks and balances built in, so I can kind of adjust as I'm going, versus waiting till the final end and find out maybe that training that whole time was wrong and I needed to redirect that, but miss that opportunity because I was never doing those small balances and small checks. Another thing that really helps out is, I always say, let the world know. And what I mean by that is, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell your spouse, your significant other, or whoever's important in your life. Let them know, verbalize these things, and that puts you and holds you accountable for that goal. Because if it was a friend came up and told me I want to do X, by the time I'm this age, I'd say, okay, as that's getting closer, I'd be asking, well, hey, how's that going? How's that goal working out for you? What have you been doing? Is things getting better? Are things getting worse? Again, that's just something to do that holds you accountable, and nobody likes to look like, a fool, and you want to live up to what you say and be a man of your word. So it keeps you really focused, really concentrating on your goal, because now you've told a lot of people about what you're trying to do. Another thing is you want to always try to celebrate those small victories. So when I talked about those small checks and balances along that road to that 400-pound deadlift, say I hit 360 and that was my goal on my 2-month mark, well, give yourself a little celebration. I'm not saying go crazy and completely derail your train. What I'm saying is, maybe find something that, go see a movie or go out to a nice dinner, something that, that is kind of a celebration to let you know, hey, you're doing a good job, and it'll keep you motivated and keep you pushing forward to continue and strive towards that goal. Because there's going to be some days where it's just going to be wicked hard, but you're going to have to keep your nose to the grindstone and keep producing, keep training, keep doing whatever it is that your specific goal is, to keep reaching towards that. The third step I always say is, welcome setbacks, and by that I'm not meaning like, oh yeah, accept failure. I'm not trying to say that, but what I'm saying is every day you can't be 100%. There's going to be days when you come in, you just had a bad night's sleep, or maybe you're under a lot more stress in that week or something. Your training is gonna reflect that. You may not be able to lift as heavy, or if your goal is you're going to be running a marathon, maybe that day that mileage that you run isn't as fast as you would like to go. Just realize and recognize that those setbacks are going to come. That's going to be part of your drive towards your goal. The big thing is not letting that completely just make you fold and give up, entirely on your goal. You want to still keep hammering away at it, but don't let the setbacks really, like I said, speak volumes and say that's it. If I can't do this today, there's no way in 4 months I'll be able to do this or whatever. You want to just look at it as, hey, today we're going to flush it, get rid of it, and tomorrow I'm going to come back hungrier and really tackle what I'm here for and really reach towards the goal. There is some caution with that though too. As you're doing and going towards your goal, whatever that specific goal is, there are times when you'll find out that, hey, maybe this goal is actually too unrealistic. I just can't make it. I say that's okay, but prior to cashing in the chips and prior to quitting, there's 3 questions I always like to ask myself, and I would pose you guys to do the same. The first question that I always like to ask myself is, maybe do I need to focus harder? Maybe I've got a lot of things bothering me. Maybe my focus isn't right on my goal. I'm thinking about a million other things and the goal isn't one of them, and it needs to be. It needs to be the priority. If that's what you want, that's what you have to concentrate on. That's what you almost have to eat, sleep, and breathe, every minute of the day to a point. So that's the first question I'll always ask myself is, hey, am I focusing good enough? And these questions, you have to be honest with yourself. If you've been slack and you've been lazy, you've been this, you've been that, own up to it and then readjust. Or again, like I said, if you do have to, change and deviate from what your goal is, do that. But generally, a lot of times, one of these 3 questions that I'm covering will cover what the problem is. So again, like I said, figure out if you're truly focusing 100% on your goal, and if not, what you can do to adjust that. Next thing would be your strategies. Do I need to change my strategies? Maybe you're finding out that, again, just using my example of the deadlift, maybe I'm finding out that I'm not doing enough accessory work to help build that deadlift, or maybe I'm not doing enough actual deadlifting in the sense of what it is. I need to adjust that. And again, those small checks and balances as you're going towards your goal will help bring that to light, and you'll be able to correct them on a smaller scale versus trying to correct it after 6 months of poor training or improper training. The final question I always like to ask myself is, again, being honest with yourself, is did I make this goal too big or too small? And usually it's always on the bigger end, and that's where the downside becomes, that I try to tackle something that I just can't get. You try to get, kind of get a little bit frustrated, but you want to try to clean it up and maybe say, okay, 400-pound deadlift is maybe a little unrealistic. I've been training, I've been focusing hard, I've been doing everything like I should. I've got all my strategies in order and in place, and it's just not, the pieces just aren't coming together. Okay, now I need to maybe adjust and say, all right, my new goal will be a 390-pound deadlift by the time I'm 40. But again, that's only after you've answered all those questions honestly and really sat down and been truthful with yourself to see if it is truly 100% you're giving and it's just something that's just a little out of reach, and then you would adjust accordingly. So like I said, again, my goal will be, that 400-pound deadlift by the time I hit 40. And then, like I said, using the steps I described, my plan would be to add in, deadlifts, obviously making that the bulk of my training, adding in a lot of accessory work to help build up that deadlift. And then, like I said, getting ready for those setbacks, because I know I might have some tough shifts at work at the fire department, which will make me a little bit more tired on the day that I come in to do some training. So I just got to kind of roll with those and be ready to, change up things a little bit and come back and tackle it the next day a little bit harder. So there you go, guys. Again, like I said, the big 3 steps are just making sure you pick that goal, a proper goal or goal selection, making sure you know what steps you're going to take or having a plan of action, and then finally, like I said, welcoming or basically accepting that you're going to hit some setbacks and learn to bounce back from those and not make that just be the end all that derails you completely from your goal. So hopefully that helps you out, guys. If you want, let me know what your goals are, and you can kind of put that out there again, letting the world know what your goals are, and then it'll get you pushing towards that. And then, like I said, it'll hold you a little bit accountable. So until next time, guys, take care, and remember, by endurance we conquer.